It's time for our Tuesday visit with Dr. Tim McKnight from Trinity Hospital, Twin City. Talk to the Doc, presented by Mako's Market and Pharmacy in Uricksville. And we asked Dr. McKnight about this past weekend's Arnold Sports Classic in Columbus.
Was open for the public was the Saturday night show, which was the bodybuilding contest and powerlifter, strongest man in the world contest, and they had a bikini contest as well. So it was about a 3-hour event, and I would guess maybe 5,000 people were there at that.
And usually it encompasses an entire weekend with fans in and out.
Yeah,
so
I
was
think it starts on Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, they normally have 250,000 spectators, and they were all, Columbus lost a ton of revenue from it.
Yeah. Did you see the governor? Was he there?
Arnold was. He sort of introduced the event, and his tagline "I'll be back" was something he said, and then he came back later and interviewed some of the contestants. So yeah, he was there, and he was actually took his cell phone and got right up on the stage and was recording some of the athletes as they were performing. So it was fun to see him.
I guess my question: how did Arnold end up at this event of all places in Columbus, Ohio?
Well, it's funny you asked me because kind of a long story. I'll try to shorten it for you, but. In the 1950s, my dad was pole vaulting at Ohio State, and when he finished, he formed a amateur track club, the Ohio Track Club, and the purpose of that was to continue to compete on an amateur level. And there was a group of guys that were doing pretty well traveling around the country. And there was a gentleman in Columbus who was into sports and fitness and was an attorney, and he had an interest in seeing the athletes, the women athletes, perform well. So he asked my dad if together they could coach a team.
Really?
So they started the first amateur track team for women in Ohio in the late 1950s. And they went on to win several national championships. So my dad continued to coach the Ohio Track Club, and this other gentleman, Jim Larimore, he went on to go in a different direction, and he continued to promote athletics. And in 1972, he wanted to put on. This is about the time Arnold was becoming popular. He wanted to put on an event in Columbus. And he was pretty good at developing, contacts and networking. So he invited Arnold to come to Columbus to compete for a bodybuilding contest.
Wow.
Well, Arnold was competing at a international contest in London. He said, "I will send a jet there and pick you up."
Wow.
And I'll have it. And so Arnold did an all-night flight to Columbus, was picked up in a limousine. He was exhausted, and he basically made it just in time for the performance.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of this connection between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Lorimer.
I did not know that.
So
That's
Jim
an interesting
Lorimer
story.
is now, I think, 91, 92 years old, and he was in the front row. And
No kidding.
Arnold mentioned him that they'd been working together for 55 years. So that's how
incredible.
it started.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in my teens in the late 70s, Pumping Iron was the book from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was the guy that if you had any desire for bodybuilding, I mean, he was the perfect specimen. He was the king of the heap, and there was no finer bodybuilder than Arnold Schwarzenegger, and just incredible what he's done since that point.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing, and this is an international draw. I mean, this is the place to be if you're in the bodybuilding world, and they have so many other sporting events that are normally on display there that it's pretty impressive. If you've never been there, it's huge.
Did your dad make it to the event?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
We were there, and he had a good time. I'd never been to a bodybuilding contest, and that was kind of fun. And the one thing that impressed me was the Strongest Man in the World contest was completed on stage that night with one last event, and they had 10 men from all over the world, and a man from Iceland. His name was Thor. Nicknamed the Mountain.
Okay.
6'9", over 400 pounds.
Jeez.
He picked up a 320-pound dumbbell, put it on his shoulder, and then pressed it up with one arm.
Wow. Jeez.
And so he won the contest.
That's
for the
kind of
strongest
scary
man.
that these guys are that
boy,
strong.
I mean, it's just incredible.
It
the size
really
of this
is.
guy, and he was on stage with Arnold, and Arnold was looking up at him, and Arnold asked him, "How much do you eat? What do you eat?" And
Wow.
this guy's eating over 10,000 calories a day.
That's
and
incredible.
More protein than probably any animal on earth. It was amazing.
Does Arnold look like he could still
He looks
get
a
out
little
there
bit
and-
older, but
yeah.
he still looks pretty fit.
Yeah.
He stays in shape, I think.
That's
and
an awesome story.
exercises.
All right. Well, Dr. McKnight at the Arnold Sports event in Columbus this weekend, which was again had a shade of coronavirus over it, as this thing has just gotten. We started talking about this about a month ago, and in fact, when we started talking about this, it was January 20th, and the World Health Organization report number 1 found 278 cases in China, 6 deaths, and 4 other cases across Asia. That was the worldwide total. As of yesterday, the World Health Organization report number 49, 109,577 confirmed cases worldwide across more than 100 countries and territories. That's up 3,993 from the day before, and 3,809 deaths worldwide. That's up 225 from the day before.
It's amazing. I looked at those numbers too, and the report I had was I think was reported at, or completed at 2:00 this morning, and the numbers are a little higher than that. Almost
Really?
3,995 deaths, over 113,000 cases. So they're updating this constantly, and of course we're seeing it spread into other countries, and now we have it in Ohio. So
could it be that the numbers were lower, maybe like say here in the United States, early on because we did not have the testing available, and now more people are able to be tested? Is that a possibility of these numbers?
I think it's possible. I think as we've seen it spread throughout the world, we've all taken it a little bit more seriously, and so we're screening more, and we're still involving the local health department, who is connected with the CDC, and they guide us and direct us.
Right.
We have a list of questions now in the emergency room if you come in coughing.
No kidding.
That screens for it, and if it is a positive screen, then we have a responsibility to call the health department, who will then direct us. But the testing is still being sent to the CDC.
And we're getting daily updates here at the radio station from the health department locally. They're right on top of this. So again, that's the important thing too. We don't want to cause a panic, but there definitely needs to be a concern here to be aware of what's going on. And as you've been saying since week number 1, one of the best ways to take care of that is to wash your hands and try to protect yourself.
Right. It's interesting. I was reading something about Purell and some of the hand wipes that they're not sure if they're effective.
Really?
They're sure they've shown that they're effective against some of the coronaviruses. One of the experts said it's effective against hepatitis A, which is one of the hardiest viruses to kill, but no one has ever proven that it's effective against COVID-19.
Isn't that
yeah,
amazing?
The new one.
COVID-19, I believe, is what they're calling.
So, it really is interesting.
Do you think soon it will be called a pandemic? I know they've been hesitant to tag that, but with these numbers growing like they are.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But again, it's not going to change what we do. I think we're obviously more aware of it now, and hopefully there's not a state of panic, but I think people are concerned. And
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
of the experts said, we know that the flu virus, which is pretty bad this year, that it's going to die down, and by March or April we won't see much activity. But we don't know with the coronavirus if it's going to follow the same pattern. This is new, and until we get a better handle on it, we really don't know.
Right. It's frightening, and of course affecting economies all across the world now.
Sure.
With the scare, and businesses, of course. You think about travel, cruise liners and airlines. They are got to be struggling with this, and that's a scary thought to think how it could play out for businesses.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the only winner here is Purell, right? I mean,
And
some of
I'm
the other
hearing on the
sanitizers.
shelves that it's difficult to even find this in
Right.
any store these days.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm sure the people that work for those companies are working triple overtime to
Yeah, but
accommodate.
boy, it's still as I've said every week. The message is we need to get used to this because viruses mutate, and we will have these epidemics or pandemics every few years, like we've had in the past. And we need good hygiene, and people need to stay home when they're sick, and just be careful. Cover your mouth when you cough. Those simple recommendations need to be followed closely.
Without a doubt. And so, again, you said this since week one as well, certainly not trying to cause a panic in any way, shape, or form, but just to be aware of everything that's going on out there. That is probably the most important thing that you could stress to people. And
I also would like to say that the CDC website, cdc.gov, is a good a resource for people who are concerned, and they keep their website and the information updated. So that's a good place to go.
Good advice, and we'll I'm certain talk about this next week as well.
This is week 10.
Wow,
Fit for Life. So we'll have
3 more weeks left.
We'll have Dr. Jakubowski here in class tonight talking about back health, and we'll talk about musculoskeletal fitness, and then we have 2 more to go.
Wow, it's amazing. It's going right by. Dr. J, of course, we're happy to have him now as part of our visits here at least once a month. And
I think his information is going to be really useful for your listeners. I really hope people will listen in when he's on the air.
Absolutely, and we'll, of course, let you know he's in once a month, so he'll be with us in early April once again. Dr. Tim McKnight, Talk to the Doc. Appreciate the info as always, and I want everybody to stay healthy and feel good, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
All right, Dr. Tim McKnight in studio. He's, of course, on staff at Trinity Hospital, Twin City, and our Talk to the Doc segment brought to you by Mako's Market and Pharmacy. Check them out. They are at 240 East 3rd Street in downtown Uricksville. Talk to the pharmacist. They are very knowledgeable and very kind people.